Kali is here, and so is the B&R. Hi guys, welcome back to Casting Commons, the show where we talk and discuss all things Pauper. I am your host Teasdale, and this is my co-host, the High Tide himself, Kalikaiz.
Hello.
How are you doing?
I am feeling okay.
Just okay.
I'm a little tilted, but that's okay.
Well, we'll dive into why. Before we start, do not forget to support us by rating us 5 stars on Spotify, following us on Twitter at CastingCommons1 for the most recent Pauper deck lists, and of course, subscribing to us and Kalikaiz on YouTube.
Yeah.
For those curious, his link will be in the description below. Always. We usually go into Pauper Thought of the Week here, but we're obviously covering the B&R. It has just been announced as of half an hour ago, basically. But we're going to touch on that in a little bit. I'm just going to cover a lot of the tournaments and just get that out the way. So then we can do a bit of housekeeping and move on with the day. So, tournament news. First of all, this next weekend, 22nd of November, Pauper Spezl in Munich, 64-player cap, having signed cards, cool, amazing wooden tokens. By the way, Kali, if you have not seen them, they do look incredible. I will send you some photos and the Instagram link.
I saw some of the photos.
They're are pretty sweet. Mega. So yeah, that link is in the description. And then, of course, on the same weekend, RIW Pauper Championships at RIW Hobbies in Michigan. Link is in the description. And then, of course, the big one for us in the UK, UK Nationals, the second one, 29th of November at Secret Space in Birmingham. With 210-player cap, we are sold to 140 tickets at the moment. This is going to be a big event, bigger than the first one already, which is always amazing to see. So yeah, pretty excited for that one. Unfortunately, will not be attending myself. Reese will be there. Lands from his honeymoon, 2 days. Goes straight to Birmingham.
Nice.
Man of many leisures, clearly. But yeah, and that is it. We don't have any real news apart from the B&R is live, which obviously seems like a great segue to obviously move on to. Do you want to give us the outcome? What was the outcome of the B&R? Seems fitting for you to hand that out.
One line, High Tide is banned. No more High Tide and Pauper. You're not allowed to play it. It's too frustrating and too good.
Too good? Whoa, that's a statement. But yeah, High Tide being banned. Personally, as I've said on this in the past, right? I'm not surprised at this, but I am disappointed. Is how I would explain this. In my opinion, I've no thoughts. Like, I don't play this deck. I don't care about playing against this deck. I actually could not care less. But my big thing is the reasonings for them. They've obviously given multitude of reasons, which obviously we'll dive into. But ultimately, they decided to ban it, and that was due to the spiel they've gave about it being. We can get. Well, I'll give first of all. I'll go into what they say on the article. Just the small article where they announce everything. They basically said that back in March, obviously, they put the trial and bans for High Tide and Prism. Quickly began building decks and realised that the Psychic Puppetry build was obviously what did well. They really want to take the time to review this, see how it evolved in the format, and time has passed. So thank you for the patience, because obviously they've moved it back a few times. Consider a careful combination of strong results, the exorbitant amount of time it takes to execute the combo, the unfun player pattern, and the polarity it causes in the format. We have decided to ban High Tide again at this time. It was a great experiment and the one I'm glad we ran. However, ultimately, we do not believe High Tide being legal has an overall positive impact on the format. So, the first thing I want to mention is we'll go on the trial and bans. The trial and bans to me were a massive success. And regardless if you feel being stringed along is really bad, which I do, I don't like the idea of that stringing along and needing more time and all that sort of stuff. I don't agree with that. But,
well, I mean, as far as the stringing along goes, I think that the one mistake that they made was not having a definitive position or a definitive point in which to say their position. They mentioned, we will tell you again in some point in around 3 months. And that caused a lot of frustration in the community because we didn't know what that meant. I believe the first one was sometime in August. And then they said, okay, it's sometime late October, early November, or late September, early October. We got to the position where October was halfway over and people were just annoyed that they didn't have a time frame. I think a lot of the things that the PFP needs to do is just be more specific. It's great that we have all this detail, but they could have just said, we can't tell you today. We're gonna tell you again with a tweet or whatever on August 7 at 10 a.m. PST, and you'll know exactly at that time. So instead of having to have everybody on the community send them mean tweets, they could just wait and see what happens. I think a lot of the sitting and waiting and not knowing was just the biggest frustration for the community, especially like in this more spiky servers and stuff on Discord or the community on Twitter. People are just like constantly going in circles about what will happen. And it creates too many arguments. I think if people were allowed to say maybe their position and then they come back to that point, that would have been a lot better. It's fine that they had to, I guess, continue to watch it. One of the things that they talked about was the deck starting just above a 50% win rate on Magic Online and ending at above a 55% win rate, which I guess, with bans in the past, 55% has been kind of like the line in the sand. We don't know how many pilots that were like medium to low skill on the deck just dropped it, and how many different pilots contributed to that 55%. Specifically, I know I was doing very, very well in the Magic Online leagues with many trophies. I know a lot of trophies were had by other very specific, I would say, aficionados of the deck. But I tried to take it into the Pauper RCQ on Sunday, the day before this ban, which will also go live today on the B&R day, so it'll already be out. And let's just say it didn't go super hot for me, but there was another player that ended up in top 4 with High Tide, so they have a very good win rate. I know a couple other people didn't. I think that it makes sense to have waited and watched, because we said early on that the win rate was much higher for those people that were well adjusted to the deck and could pilot it better. So the more time you put in the format, the more people are going to get good at playing it, which will increase the average win rate overall. So I could definitely understand why they wanted to wait. It's just the constant vagueness, the vague looking, the AIM away message with the a vague song title about whether or not they're going to ban things. That was not helpful for the community.
Yeah, I think if obviously they'd said in the first time and went, it's going to be 3 months' time, it's going to be on August the 19th at this time, and then even if they got to that point and went, we actually need more data, it's not a problem right now, do you know what I mean? We want to keep an eye on it, and we're going to get back to you on October the 12th. And rinse and repeat that. Time. Yeah, at X time. That would have been perfectly fine. I do agree, but it is, like, I've seen you tweet, I tweeted, I seen obviously like Walker and stuff, like everybody just tweeting saying like, is it early October yet? Is it mid-October yet? It's like,
what's your plan? Please. You're too vague. Yeah. And maybe Gavin is just too busy to actually notice that this is causing a problem. And maybe the people that this is causing a problem for are only like 20 people in the world that he doesn't care about. Maybe everybody else is totally chill.
Yeah, I think though you are correct though, but it doesn't take. It's like it's a fixable problem, right? All they need to do was just they didn't even have to say a time. Just say an article or a tweet will be released on this date. It's all text. It's not much.
Yeah, unfortunately, the late October or the late early October one, we were all trying to get anything from them, and they posted it at 9 p.m. on the 14th of October in California, which was already way into mid-October in Japan, right? So
yeah, definitely funny.
Like I woke up, I went to bed assuming that it just never was going to happen, and woke up and they're like, oh, okay. They need more time.
But that is all fine. Anyways, we've got the announcement now, and there's a couple of things that I kind of pulled out. So obviously, we've obviously talked about the initial spiel about how it takes time to execute the combo, unfun play patterns, and polarity it causes in the format. I find, even though I know it's a very high level for people that don't really, because obviously this where I'm getting this from is just a big list of all the formats, why they're banning it, etc. So it's just a small paragraph that they do at the start for people that are just generally reading. Like people who aren't interested in the nuances, they do have a link, obviously in the longer article. You can click on that. Again, that'll be in the description. That's where Kali got the 50 and 55% win rate. I really don't like this this sentence in this. I'm really a bad advocate of this whole unfun player patterns and polarity and all that sort of stuff. Like I'm really against this. I'm very much on data. Like, I was fine with banning Kuldotha in the sense that it had a really high good win percentage on game one. Like that's a good data to have. This being, it's not fun. Really? Fun for who?
I think they have to throw a bone to the people that were complaining that it wasn't fun for them. And they have to mention that as a way of like making them think, okay, I'm heard. To be honest, playing against a deck that's playing solitaire really isn't fun. It's terrible experience. I don't think anybody can say that it's not. Like if you're sitting there waiting for your opponent to do the thing, and that's why I try to go super fast on Magic Online. Like my best combo turn with High Tide was 2 minutes. Sometimes it was 5, 10, and that's dependent on what else is going on in the game. But then if I played against someone else who clearly didn't actually have as much experience as me and didn't really understand the logistics of managing the combo turn, it could be 10, 15 minutes. It could be at the position where they're casting Petals of Insight to make 1 mana per loop, and they're doing that for 15 minutes because they have a deterministic kill. But you, unfortunately, are just like letting them do the clock. While at the same time on Magic Online, people double queue, play slowly. Like this is happening all over the place. And additionally, like this unfun play pattern, it's true. No, like if you come to the LGS and you want to play a fun game and your opponent is playing solitaire, it kind of sucks. You drove 20 minutes to get there, 30 minutes to get there. You spent your whole day trying to play, your 3 or 4 matches, and now you're just blanked. It's not super fun. But if you're in a competitive scenario where you're playing Paupergeddon or you're playing, the Magicon or something, you should expect that you're playing against decks that are there to win, and you're not there to have fun. You're trying to win. So it's a completely different experience. Even though, so like the High Tide deck, I actually had less fun playing it in the LGS than I guess on Magic Online or even in the Magicon, because in the LGS, all I heard around me was people complaining. And that really sucks. Like it's hard. I know like people have different experiences and they want to play different things. And that's kind of the beauty of Magic, is that you can have multiple different options to do. But I think that it was kind of the talk of the town and everybody's looking down on it and just nobody was having fun. I did not play it. Played, I think, 1 time locally or 2 times just for training for an event, like getting my mechanics figured out. And it was not a fun experience for anybody. And like my opponent was grumpy, looking at me grumpy. Everybody else is complaining on the side. Not a good time. Yeah. And then in Magicon Atlanta, I had a burn player complain that all I was doing was making my opponents watch me count. I was like, you play Lightning Bolt.
One rule for one. But my on my other side of that, right? Obviously, people do find that miserable to play against, right? But then, say you're playing, I don't know, another deck that you find fun and enjoyable, White Weenie, say you find, I don't know, Infect fun. Like, is it really exciting to watch your Jund Wildfire opponent or your Grix Affinity opponent sit there and rebuy refurbs and rebuy Crackland Shamans and then nug you for 2 for the next 45 minutes? I
think they should get rid of fun as part of their articles, because it creates a situation where people think that they're allowed to mention fun as a reason to do things or to make actions, and it's just, I think it's something they should really get away from.
And that's kind of my argument, right? Is I'm not disagreeing with you that sitting across from someone isn't that exciting, but then doing the same while they're going, I'm cycling my refurbs and attacking you for 45 minutes while I'm drawing a swamp because you've ripped my hand apart. That is also not fun for a lot of people. So then why mention it? It's either if you're bringing it into every argument or you bringing it into no argument. And I'm very much on the side of no arguments because it creates a lot of ambiguity. Was my main point. Moving on to other parts of it, other parts of the deeper article that they talk about. They mention that high tide preying on mid-range decks, meaning decks that can go under it but are weak to mid-range, become good counters. But we've been doing so much work over the past couple of years to help slow down the format and make it more interactive. The more Pauper is about people just throwing cards at one another, seeing who wins, as opposed to interactive games, generally the worse off it is. That doesn't mean fast decks shouldn't exist, but incentivizing the format to try and win quickly and interact very little is a negative.
I think that the format has been pushed towards this since Brood Scale. I don't think that it's Tide's fault that everybody's trying to win on turn 3. Like, Spy is winning on turn 3 or turn 4. So is Mono Red. Mono Blue Terror can win on turn 3 or turn 4. Like, you're just there trying to do the thing. And I don't think that a turn 4 combo deck is, like, too bad from a speed perspective. Like, I constantly lost by being on the draw many times.
But then also, on the same side of things, though, doesn't that then negate what they're trying to say? At the same time, they've worked trying to slow down the format to make it as interactive as possible when you're losing on turn 4 with your fast combo deck because other aggro or aggressive slanted decks are also doing incredibly well.
I mean, maybe they're assuming that decks like Jund will be able to push back the amount of people that are trying to win on turn 3 or turn 4 by like having more removal and more sweepers. I don't know if that's necessarily going to be the case. Mono Red Madness already, like, this does not affect Mono Red Madness at all. And it can win on turn 4 if you Goldfish constantly.
Just my main thing about this, right, is I don't feel like it preys on mid-range decks and puts mid-range decks as obviously really bad in the metagame, because obviously Grix Affinity's been doing well, as we sort of touched on before the pod. But then it sort of doesn't go with what they're trying to work towards. It's like the older Modern used to be, it's not a turn 4 format, anything that can combo off before turn 4, we got banned and all this sort of stuff. And it's like, well, have you? Because you've just got rid of one spell-based combo deck, which is a completely different way of playing that we don't have in Pauper at the moment, really. But you still got Terra, Mono Red Madness. You've got other red-based aggro decks. You've got Blue Terra. You've got all of these other decks. You've technically got Cycle Storm as well.
Elves can win pretty fast, too.
Do you know what I mean? Like, all of these decks are very fast. But then you're saying
you've... fast format.
Exactly. So then why say the past couple of years have been working on slowing it down? Well, because they've unbanned Map and Prism.
Well,
do you know what I mean? Like,
they got rid of Swift Spear, which was helpful.
Yeah.
And they got rid of Kuldotha, which was helpful. But it didn't really change the speed of those decks that much. It maybe pushed it back like a quarter a turn or half a turn. And Bushwhacker still, I think, is going to be the thing that's going to keep those turn 3, turn 4s for the rally deck.
Yeah. I just find it really strange that paragraph is why I've highlighted it. Because they're saying it incentivizes the form to try and win quickly is a net negative, but then they've just still kept all these decks that are, trying to win quickly, but you consider them not a net negative to obviously put them on the watch list or even ban them or whatever, which I don't mind. I'm not saying they need banned. That is obviously not what I'm saying. I'm just saying why use that as a banning argument for banning High Tide is my point. I
think that they're trying to be in line with what they said with the unban announcement, where if they felt like it was a top deck, it shouldn't exist. Yeah, that was just kind of the stance they took ahead of time. and it is sort of becoming a top deck. I think for top players, it was a top deck, top pick for them, which is why I played it in a lot of events and was relatively successful with it. So it makes sense to get it gone, but it's, for me, I feel sort of hated out constantly. Every time I like a deck, it gets banned. So I have to find the next deck to get banned. Probably work on Cycle Storm or something.
Yeah, I feel like, I think you're right. They're just trying, it's like I don't know if they're just trying to say words that people want to hear, but not really thinking about what they mean. Or, I don't know. The whole thing felt really strange to me. And I'm not saying that High Tide shouldn't be banned and I'm against it. I just don't like banning things for wrong reasons, is more my point.
Right.
And I do think High Tide, as you say, was definitely a top contender. Maybe top 5 for like a bigger event, like a qualifier, as you say. I don't know if it was quite top 3. I don't have the data on that for sure, but it definitely feels like it can be targeted for sure.
I think if you put the best player in the room for each given deck, that High Tide would be one of the top decks.
I could see that.
The best player of the deck. I think Tolarian Terror is just as good, but I don't play decks usually that are matched up super well against it. Though I don't know how it feels to be like trying to play into it with a removal deck. I know like it has ways around that with things like Murmuring Mystic or just dropping a bunch of terrors all at once. So I think that it can adjust relatively easily to that. But yeah. Combo player getting shut down again.
It's like that Harry Potter meme where it's like, why is it always you 3? And it's just pictures of random combo decks. That's what it is. Just always the combo. So, I don't know if you want to talk about any other things I've highlighted here, or if you want to talk about anything else about the High Tide banning in particular.
Well, I think that so what's the impact of the High Tide ban, right? I think it's probably going to have no impact, to be honest. I don't think that High Tide was impacting the format in any measurable way. I think there was so few players that it ended up being more of a thing that people would rather try and dodge than try to worry about. The Terror deck was already built to beat it. The red decks were playing 8 Pyroblast because Terror is the top deck. So they were automatically ready for it. The Spy deck has Mesmeric Fiends to try to handle hate from opponents, so they're already prepared for it. The Elves deck was winning on turn 4 on the play, so they're prepared for it. I don't think it's like going to change anything. I think that you're probably just going to be in the same format for the foreseeable future.
Thanks for putting a depressing tone on that.
Well, maybe I'll get to play. I'll figure out a way to beat Terror with Poison Storm and then really stick it to the Jund players.
But yeah, I think to be fair, the only thing that wins outright is probably Wildfire to an extent, is in the sense that they get to change, as you said beforehand, they get to not have Duress in their main board. But I also think the thing is as well, they don't necessarily need Duress and Pyroblast for Terror. They can have more targeted hate, potentially.
And they've got Chrysalis.
Yeah.
So they're in a position to already be well set. And I guess they have the option now to get rid of playing Gixian in the main because they don't have to have a clock. They can go back to the Dirtle deck, and maybe that will make them have the ability to play the Krark-Clan Shaman in the main deck and just be more prepared for the rest of the metagame.
Or more importantly, have all the draws in Paupergeddon.
Yeah. Well, so that means that if you're in the mirror, the one who has Gixian wins.
Yeah. So
I guess.
Pretty interesting. That's probably the only real change, right? Is I would have said, to be fair, Grixis seems like a reasonable choice generally at the moment, I would have said. Because it just generally feels a lot better with its draw package in the blue, and obviously having the correct hit, all that sort of stuff. Maybe that moves away.
One thing they pointed out in during the description of why High Tide was banned was that it takes a long time to play, just like Familiars, which is pretty funny. I found it kind of silly that they pointed out Familiars specifically. So I guess I'm going to have to play Familiars and try to get that one banned too. That one is pretty good against Grixis Affinity, and it can be good against Jund Wildfire, I believe. You can also, just dust Wildfire a little bit on all the way.
Hmm.
The major problem for that deck would be the Terror deck, so you have to think it all through.
Yeah.
So they talked about the format impact of it already, but I just don't think it's going to have any impact like long term. They also talked about in their ban article that they were, sort of watching in the potential range of ban for Tolarian Terror decks and Spy combo decks, which is kind of funny because I think that immediately after the last Pauper Get-In, it was the like top Pauper player where they brought this Spy combo Walls deck. Right after that, I was like, is this a card that's going to get banned? Because the deck was very, very strong. And it sort of feels like you have to have an overabundance of hate to take it down. Maybe they're assuming now that with the hate not being pointed specifically to High Tide, it will push this deck down even further. But it kind of got into a position where it's sort of a fine thing to be doing it, I think. Not overpowered. The Tolarian Terror deck, I believe, has been the top or one of the top decks for over like a year and a half, maybe 2 years.
Yeah. I could see that.
It's just interesting that it keeps skating by.
Yeah, I do find it quite interesting, right? That obviously Terror remains... Like, I would actually say this is probably the first time it's been on a watch list, right? Don't quote me on that, but I don't feel like it's been right while watching Terror.
Right.
And I'm genuinely surprised that it's gotten that far, because obviously the deck is strong. And as I've said in previous episodes, I wouldn't have been surprised if Terror was banned in this B&R due to sort of on the similar vein of Kuldotha, right? It's just got that strong of a game 1 win rate that I would not be surprised if it won most of its game 1s. Like, you have to...
I think that Tide also was just like, the game 1 win rate was probably like 90%. Because your opponent doesn't know what you're doing, and as long as you can enact your plan in a normal way, and you're not playing Mono Blue Terror or Mono Blue Fairies, then you're probably just going to crush them.
For sure. But yeah, it'd be interesting to see if anything does happen with the Terror and the Spy. I do personally believe that... I'm unsure on Spy. I could see it eventually becoming a problem, right? But I do think it is relatively not the worst to hate. Every player does have access to hate, right? Like, literally has access to the same card. So
yeah,
it's not the end of the world. And it is a game-winning card as well. Like, it's very difficult to interact with.
They can play around the Fairy Macabre with Haunting Misery.
Yeah.
Or having a Lotless Giant in hand. Like, it's not an ender, because they have a couple of ways through it.
Yeah, but asking you to have a card in your hand when you're trying to mill your entire library is sort of an ask, right? And you can't bauble it back. There's no way, like, because then the Macabre comes into play. So you have to, if, say, you are, I don't know, top 20, top 25 cards in your deck, you then have to have one of those 2 cards, or one of however many copies you put in your deck, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You're not really playing around it as such. Is more my point. You've got to then go around like that. You have ways to do it. I'm not saying that it's impossible to beat and like everyone falls to Fairy Macabre, but it's a card that everyone has access to. And if you have to bring in, say, Mezfiend or Haunted Misery, or pick a Lotless Giant off your Lead the Stampede, or whatever, you are literally in a awkward position if you're against some deck like Mono Red, for example.
Yeah. The Spy deck is interesting because it has a lot of very strong draw. It has a lot of very strong cards. It can assemble its combo very easily. But at the same time, it feels sort of like it shouldn't be able to do that. It has things like Winding Way and Lead the Stampede, which both are sort of what I consider to be like a top deck, where you say, okay, I'm going to cast Winding Way and pray. Hopefully I hit, right? You're just looking at the shuffle. Same with Lead the Stampede, you're just looking for it. And there are other decks, like if you're casting divinations like Eviscer's Insight, or you're casting cantrips, you're sort of doing the same thing. It just feels like less random somehow. So when you're playing against Spy, the feels bads usually is like, I think I'm handling this game, everything's fine. Oh, they top decked it. Yeah. You know, like you feel safe. They have nothing in hand. They top deck a Winding Way into the Spy, and you're just dead. And then that for me is that unfun play pattern again. But that's only because my own personal experience, I suppose.
Yeah, I find that really odd that you say that, right? When you say that these are random top deck cards. When
it feels that way to me, and I don't know why.
But it's really funny though that you say this. But also when you think about it in a logical perspective of you saying that Eviscerator's Insight and Fanatical Offering and all that sort of stuff isn't that.
Somehow they're just they are two random cards off the top, but you just keep seeing two random cards. Yeah. Whereas Winding Way is 4 random cards, and sometimes you'll hit 0, and sometimes you'll hit 4.
Right, but
so I don't understand. It somehow
but you're talking about a card, right? One of them you have to build your deck in a way to make it good, i.e. Elves, Spy, don't put a lot of lands in, don't put have a lot of creatures in. Eviscerator's Insight just goes in your deck, and you just draw 2 cards all the time. It's like, oh look, they've drawn Eviscerator's Insight. They've sacked.
You know what it is? It's because they have to reveal it.
Yeah, is that what it is?
It's because if you just draw 2 cards, they go to your hand. You don't have to see how badly that you got screwed. But if they reveal it, then you feel even worse. So they're like, "Yeah, you're dead." Why? If they draw it and then cast it, then I don't feel as bad as them saying, "Oh, looks like you're dead."
So what you're saying is you need to not look at the revealed slot on Magic Online and close chat.
Don't tell me.
Just do this. Just close your eyes and just like, oh, am I dead yet?
Please no.
Then you'll feel a lot better about it.
That must be what it is.
Yeah,
I don't like seeing it coming. They go turn 1, Roost Seek, and you go, oh no.
But all is good. It'd be interesting to see, how this sort of develops, impacting obviously Pauper UK Nationals, things like that is in a couple of weeks. So it'd be really interesting to see how obviously that affects how well Terra does. How it's, to me, the big thing about High Tide, right, going back to it, is sideboard changes, right? And that's the big one. It's, does your deck need, I don't know, 8 Pyroblasts now? 8 Duresses, yeah. Does it need that? Or is it just going to go, I can run some amount of Pyroblasts, some amount of Spell Bombs, and that hits both sort of Terra in the same vein, but has different hate pieces against other decks. And that's sort of how I see the format evolving. On actual playability of decks, we're probably not going to see a change, right?
Well, I feel bad for the High Tide players, so there's still time to learn Cycle Storm.
Very true.
Or Familiars, because it always pops up.
I think if I was a High Tide player now, going into Pauper again and planning on playing High Tide, I'd definitely just pick Familiars. If that was for my, I just think the deck, I don't know the deck very well. Like, I have played it, but I don't know the deck very well. I always feel like Familiars is a deck that definitely is skating on actually secretly being the best deck. Just nobody plays it. That's how I always feel. I feel like the deck's very, very strong, just gets underappreciated for some reason. Maybe I've been in the Familiars Discord too long and I've just inhaled all the copium. Maybe that's what it is.
Yes, most likely.
Yeah.
Then you get run over by Burning Tree or Emissary into Bushwhacker, and you remember it's very slow.
Muldrifter's just not it anymore.
We'll see.
Anything else to add?
Oh, well, they talked about long turns. They did not say that it caused any tournament integrity failures. They just said it takes a long time, and that's annoying. Then they said that you could play Petals of Insight to make it take less time, but it's not as good of a card, which I did say originally. So that could be the difference between winning and losing. Gavin said that he played a ton of High Tide, and he played it in an 11-round event. So he was putting the work in. I know Paige from the format panel was putting work in playing High Tide. So I don't think that they did these things without any... obviously, they put a lot of work into looking at it for a very long time.
I think, for me, the interesting section as well is this bit as well, which is the high tide player will always try to combo off if they look like they're about to lose the next turn, which means you can expect some amount of combo turn in every game of a match. This all boils down to a miserable gameplay experience where high tide players take up a majority of gameplay time while the other player sits there. I'm not really too fussed about the long time and that sort of stuff, but I do think it is an interesting point, but it's also the same for most combo decks. Like Cycle Storm would do the same, Goblin combo would do the same, is if you look like you're going to die, you shoot your shot. If you miss, you miss. If you die, you die. The only thing in coincidence is that means I cast a bunch of Psychic Puppetries and High Tides and 9 Days Unbound and
then concede.
Yeah. But...
yeah. Usually you concede within a few spells, not like within 50. You don't draw most of your deck and lose most of the time. Sometimes you do. It's recently happened to me.
But yeah, like I've done the same with Goblin combo, right? Just tried to go off. This was obviously pre-MH2 when it was actually playable. Pre-MH. Wait, which one's Writhing Crisis? Is that MH3? It's MH3.
MH3.
Yeah. I don't know why I forgot MH3 existed. Just removed it from my brain. But yeah, so pre-MH3, like try to do the same with Goblin combo. You try and combo off, you don't have a win con, and you just spend about 5 minutes of your time in paper trying to dig for this combo. So it does happen. It happens with every deck, which I just find interesting that they've sort of pointed that out when that's sort of like a given in combos, right? But hey-ho. Anything else you want to mention before we move on?
I don't think I have anything else. It just feels bad that I think that they couldn't make any other changes at this time because of Paupergeddon coming up, even though they didn't say that specifically from what I saw. But yeah, every time there's a good combo deck and there's a bunch of other problems under the surface, they smack down the combo deck and wait for the next thing. And then just there's more problems, I guess. I think that Pauper is a format that's been, all these really, really powerful cards have entered. And we have a position now where the top decks are so good that it's like the format's not going to change very much with new cards coming in. So I was hopeful that they would maybe take a bigger stance and bring it down so that, things like Avatar or the upcoming sets would make an impact. I think we'll see some minor changes. But
yeah, I think we've sort
having
of...
a new...
Sorry, go on.
Yeah, having a new hexproof creature for Mono White Heroic didn't really change anything. Maybe if Mono White Heroic went from tier 3 to tier 1 instead of tier 3 to tier 2.5, then it would be like more impactful. Yeah. People have to make more changes.
Yeah, and I think that's sort of what we've talked about previously on the pod, is that we've had the power level is now at the point of an Eternal format, right? Where the bar is incredibly high, that you've got, like, I think we talked about it previously, that there was like 5 cards from this year that was impactful. And, one of them was Sagu Wildling. That was obviously a really high bar, but then after that, it's minimal change.
But we do have a position now where the format's so cemented that you probably could build a deck that hard targeted things and that you could like find a lane.
I think my only problem with that as well is the sideboard cards in Pauper aren't that strong. So, for example, with like Legacy, which I'm not saying is a bad thing, it's just a general observation. So, say Legacy, Vintage, etc., you can play a Rest in Peace. You can play a bunch of Brainstorms and all that sort of stuff. You play a Rest in Peace, the graveyard deck is now shut down, right?
Right. But you could just play a deck that stomps on Terror and Mono Red, and you probably make top 8.
Yep.
So at this point, you are looking for sideboard cards more against like Elves and Spy.
But again, like so again, my main argument is that the sideboard cards in other Eternal formats are that powerful. You need 1 to 2 of them to try and find them, where you need an abundant, like, there's no one card that kills Terror. Like, you'll need 7 or 8 blasts. You'll need to blast the multitude of Terrors, so that's half your sideboard done for one deck. So, do you know what I mean? And then you can't just run one Breath Weapon to kill the Elves player. You'll need to do it at least 2 times, and so say you run 2, you need to find 2. Do you know what I mean? It's that sort of thing that it's like when we were talking about how we've unbanned sideboard cards previously, like, when they were banning things from Affinity because everyone had to run 7 dust-to-dust effects to even have a stance. The same is still true, right? You need 6 to 7 sideboard cards per deck. That's a bad matchup. And it still doesn't make it like a, you know what I mean, it doesn't make it an 80% win rate deck. So you've got the eternal format thing where the bar's that high that nothing's coming in, but you can't really make an anti-meta deck because all the cards that you need like 6 or 7 of them. And that's like a weird thing.
Do you think that contributes to like the slot machine feel of it?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, and that, which I don't mind decks having good and bad matchups. Like, don't get me wrong, I'm not really against it. It's just a weird thing where you don't have that space to, okay, I'm going to have this card to prepare for this deck, or this card to prepare for this deck, because you'll need like 6 or 7 effects of that card, and then it's all of a sudden you go, okay, I'm going to have these cards to deal with this deck, these cards to deal with this deck, these cards to deal with this deck, and that's sort of my flex slots in the main and the sideboard showed up, and now I just have to hope I don't verse this deck, this deck, this deck, and this deck. Which is fine, but it's just the way the format is, but it means you can't build new, fun, exciting new cards because you don't have the space, right?
Yeah.
It's interesting. It's in a really strange place, Paul, because it's at the moment, I feel like it's the highest power level it's been in like since ever. But yeah, I feel like that's probably a conversation for another day. But yeah.
Sounds good.
Do you want to talk about the challenges, especially since though they're still relevant? Since nothing got
Oh, yeah. Not all of
them. So yeah, we're going to talk about the 3 challenges and then, as Callie alluded to, the Sunday qualifier. So starting off on the Friday challenge. This feels weird, me reading them out. This is usually Reese's job.
I can do it if you want.
It's okay.
Friday challenge. Friday the 7th of November. We have first place Jund Wildfire, second place Spy Walls, third place Mono Blue Terror, fourth what Tissot marked as Red Sly, 5th and 6th Elves, 7th Dimir Terror, and 8th White Weenie playing Spider-Man card. And then the near misses Dimir Fey and Jund Wildfire. So if we look at we have Ganja de Janga. I can't even say that. Ganja de Janga. Anyway, they're playing mono green elves with Fairy Macaques in the sideboard, Soggy Wildlings, B2 Ghazi Inspector. So all their life gain is in the sideboard. They just have a main deck plan of smashing you with Avenging Hunter and Nyxborn Hydra, Quirion Ranger, and Timberwatch Elf. The 6th place player moved this Avenging Hunter to the sideboard in order to play Soggy in the main deck and Well-Wishers, which is interesting. Looks like Weber came in 7th place with Dimir Terror. And then McWinsauce was playing a White Weenie with Darval, whose Web protects with the N Weber guy. And otherwise, it looks pretty normal. There's a great sort of tier in there, which is a kind of a sweet card in White Weenie, where this is 1 and a white for an equipment. Whenever it attacks, you put a +1 counter on it and tap up to 1 target creature defending player controls, which is a good way to continue to push damage in. They've got 3 Guardian's Pledge and a Steadfast Unicorn for their ways to push damage. And then in 9th place, Barf has a newer Dimir Fey list where he's playing 4 Fairy Miscreants in the main deck. So it's kind of like a hybrid Dimir Fey, Mono Blue Fey kind of situation. Fairy Miscreant, one of those cards that'll just like take over the game if they ever draw more than one of them. And if they only draw one, it looks really stupid. So combining that with Snuff Out, very strong. I've seen screenshots that go either way. We see like a pretty stock Jund Wildfire in 10th. And then, have we seen this, what's it called? Sly list here that in previous challenges?
Yeah, so it was in either last week's or the week before, which was basically the 2 Goldhound, 4 Inventor's Axe sort of deck. I think you mentioned that it was Cosmic Charles's list that they've done well with, they made a video like 6 months ago or whatever.
Yeah, and he created an all 1-drops deck. I think he was waiting for some new set to drop and he was bored, so it was just like 1-drop Sly. The Inventor's Axe is pretty sweet. It ETBs and attaches, so it's kind of a combat trick. Plus it leaves energy behind, so you don't have to pay mana to attach it to another creature later. And then otherwise it's just like a 1-drop attack. no card advantage, but some epicures and some percussionists to kind of like make up stuff. Discover End came in third with the stock list. First place was Jund or Walker. I guess he went undefeated. They're playing 2 Gixians in the main deck. And then second place was Piercini on Spy. They're playing a more combo version. So for the 1-drops, they have 4 Caretaker and 4 Elves of Deep Shadow, which allows you to come out much faster. They'd still have 5 lands, but they're playing quite quickly. And I don't know if there's Queer Rangers. I don't see them right now. But
no.
So 3 Axebanes and 4 Overgrowns with looks like no Wall of Roots. They're playing a package of 4 Dimir House Guard, which is a 3 and a black fear creature that transmutes for 1 black, which gives you 8 spies essentially. But you can also transmute for this one of Myconid Spore Tender, which ETBs and destroys an artifact or enchantment to get rid of spell bombs. Otherwise,
you also have
pretty normal.
You have a little. It does have like a little package, right? It can not only get a spy, it can obviously also get a dread return, which they don't really talk about. But
I love this other tech here. Are you gonna say it?
You meet in a tavern. This one?
They can transmute for the meet in the tavern to transmute for overrun. That's pretty cool.
Yeah. So
I love that.
It's like a double whammy, right? So if you don't have any means to combo, you meet in a if you have abundance of mana sort of thing, you can kind of go transmute for you meet in a tavern. You can then do it for lead the Stampede effect because you can look at top 5 and draw 5, or you can, as you say, do an overrun and just swing, which is pretty good.
That's sweet.
Yeah, I really like this idea. They have sort of went down on leads, right? They're not running any winding ways, but they are only running 2 leads, 2 you meet in a tavern, which is interesting. So it's not entirely free. So
it just becomes more of a top deck.
All
you have to do is top deck your Dimir House Guard, and then you have all the options you want.
There you go.
You can get your spy, you can get your disenchant, you can get your card draw. You can get an overrun.
Yeah, I really
maximum.
I really like the idea of the like sort of pack, like this sort of weird package, right? It's actually pretty interesting. But yeah, pretty cool. I really like this idea for the wall spy deck. I don't know how I feel about no Waller Roots in that, but I don't hate.
Well, if you have, it makes sense. You got to have attackers if you're playing an overrun.
I just more wonder how often it'll be an overrun, right? And more just a 4 mana draw 5. Obviously you'd have to play it to find that out, right? For sure, but it definitely.
I suppose if you're going down on card draw effects, you're going to draw more cards with your top deck effects, right? Because you're going to have more creatures to hit.
Yeah. I also really like the fact that Wall Spy is pretty much all on Elves of Deep Shadow now. It really makes me happy. I really love that card as an elf.
Yeah.
It's pretty sweet.
I have no emotional attachment to elves other than sort of like they beat me again.
But yeah, pretty sweet challenge all around. I really like the red slide deck. It's pretty sweet. I don't really know how I feel about the Gold Hound. Obviously just another 1-drop, but probably a pretty bad one overall. I really like the Inventor's Axe. I think it probably should be in more like rally decks as well. Being like an artifact shock that can be a shock plus is always pretty good. That feeds Galv Blast. Which is pretty sweet. Really like that card. I've got 0 opinions on both elves. They're just mono green elves with different sideboards for sure. It's fine. If you're running 4 Vitu-Ghazi Inspectors from the Ganja Dananja, we're calling it.
Ganja Dajanga.
I probably would run the Cycle Dinosaur as opposed to Sagu personally, but other than that, I'm all for it.
Very nice.
Yeah.
We've got... Do you want to move on to the next one?
Yeah, happy to move on to the Saturday.
All right, so Saturday the 8th, we have 54 players. First place was No, that's not right. Go to the Saturday the 8th, my bad. 50 players. First place, Mono Blue Terror. Second place, John Wildfire. Third was Red Madness. Fourth, Demir Fay. Fifth, Bogles. Sixth was White Weenie. Seventh, Rakdos Madness. 8th was Grixis Affinity, and 9th and 10th were both Mono Red Madness. The Mono Red Madness decks we're all slightly different, which is interesting. First place, Discover N, just doing the thing, just quietly destroying the Pauper format continuously. Second place, Blaze 66, a very stock looking Gen Wildfire. And then third place was NMT SCO 94. I believe they're an Italian player. They play all sorts of decks and consistently perform.
Yeah, they do.
They're playing what I would consider to be the most stock of stock versions for the Mono Red Madness, where there's 15 creatures, 7 pingers, 3 gutter snipe, 3 fire blast, and then 4 os the rest of everything. With 8 pyroblast effects, only 2 Searing Blaze. They have 3 relics and 2 End the Festivities. Those are kind of like I would call flex cards in the sideboard. Then Barf went into the top 8 this time with the same Demir Fey playing Fairy Miscreant. We have a Bogles player coming out of nowhere, probably beating up on those mono red people. And then this Jinja player ended up in 6th place with White Weenie, playing 2 Summon Chokamogs and 2 Darval whose Web Protects. So that's their pump effects with 2 Guardian's Pledge in the main deck. They Martyr the Sands in the sideboard for the mono red deck. Captain Tsuba playing pretty stock looking red black madness. Nothing crazy. There is a tech hazard here, which is an End the Festivities with a different name. I don't see other End the Festivities, so I guess they just chose to buy that instead of End the Festivities because they have 3 other tectonic hazards in the sideboard. And then the Grixis Affinity looks pretty stock as well. 2 Cryo, 4 Ichor Wellspring is neat. That gives them a lot of things to sacrifice.
Yeah, they're not on the Luffy list, right? They're just on the their own sort of semi-stockish list, right? There's no 1 Cryogen and then an amount of Black Mage's Rod. So it is.
Yeah.
But other than that.
Sandpop in 9th place is playing the same stock, mono red, just a little bit of changes in the sideboard. And then Lamella is playing, I think, probably more my version of the mono red madness. They chose to play a 4th Gutter Snipe over the 4th Faithful Suiting in the main deck, over the main stock main deck. And their sideboard is 8 Pyros, 4 Searing Blaze, and then 3 Relic of Progenitus. So I don't know if people are playing Relic in these decks specifically to face Spy or Terror, but I think actually it's probably just a pretty solid way to get over the top of Terror. Because in the Mono Red versus Terror matchup, you're kind of both trying to out card advantage the other person, and if they can sneak a 5/5 on the table, now you're getting clocked and dying. So if you can keep their 5/5s from happening, you can stop them from maybe use your pyros on their like Lorien Reveals or something like that, so that you're ahead on cards. I guess it's interesting. Or you could just put 1 Epicure on the table and ping them forever as you attack in and keep them from getting a creature on the table.
From my experience, I would board in the 11 Pyroblasts and Rebs and Relics and still die. Is generally how I find my Mono Red Madness versus Terror. So, yeah.
Yeah, you have to open up lands and keep making land drops until they try to do something.
That's the hard part.
The 11th place High Tide was funky, where Tyrube, a Cyclostorm player, is playing 1 Otherworldly Gaze in it. And lots of singleton stuff. I guess maybe they can, Merchant Scroll for those kinds of things.
I guess that's another thing that's quite exciting, is the fact that we'll now finally see Tyrube back on Cycle Storm now that High Tide's gone. So that's always another good thing. They always felt weird to me seeing them on High Tide. But as far as this challenge goes, right, there's nothing too crazy, right? Discover N's on his stock Discover N list, as you've said.
There was a solid amount of mono red there, and we saw Grixis Affinity and Gen Wildfire. So the mid-range decks still were doing fine, apparently.
We also do have a return of Bogles, right? Which we've sort of said previously on the pod, is that if Mono White Heroic can do quite well, Bogles doesn't seem the worst position. But the biggest downside is for Bogles is it's sort of like a White Heroic that has worse mana, because they essentially have hexproof anyways. You do obviously gain Armadillo Cloak and Mask, which are incredibly good like enchantments to put on. But yeah, this list isn't too out the ordinary. We've got 2 Sentinel's Eyes, 1 Hyena Umbra, 1 Lifelink, 1 Cartouche as the sort of flex slots. It's not really too out there, but got a standard looking-ish sideboard with the red sideboard cards of Flare and Pain and Pyroblast and stuff. We do have 2 Electrifies, which I find quite interesting, which is a 4-mana instant. Deal 4 damage to target creature. I feel like they've definitely just put the wrong card in here instead of Electrickery.
They meant to put in Electrickery, and it just came in poorly.
Yeah, that's the only thing I can think of. What else would you put this card in your deck for?
That's so funny. They searched Elec in Magic Online and just put him in.
That's the only thing I can think of. Unless they really want to pay 4 mana to kill a Mer Enforcer.
I really love that.
That is definitely what happened, right?
They're like, oops, didn't need it. 13 card sideboard.
And also, if that is the case, that is definitely the best name as well. The Magic Online username is called Number One Noob. To factor. That's awesome. Oh, that's class.
Amazing.
Touching on this white weenie deck, right? There's nothing like I find the Darvel or the Spider-Man, the 1-mana 3/3 legend, is pretty. It's an interesting inclusion, especially over the Summon Choco Mob, right? I don't know how I feel about it overall. But
well, the Choco Mob is taking kind of the pump effect slot over the Guardian's Pledge, because the other player that we saw the previous day was playing 4 pumps with the Unicorn and another Pledge, and they're playing 4 as well. I think Darval is pretty good overall, or the Spider-Man card. It's just being able to play a 1-mana 3/3 and pick up a Thraben Inspector is very strong. Yeah. It always feels bad to be like, oh god, there's a 3/3 on the table I have to deal with.
Yeah, that's fair. I definitely probably need to test this card a bit, but it does seem like an odd one, right? Because there's so many times where you just can't attack on turn 2. So you kind of 1/2 just sort of looks awkward, or you're 1/1 if it's a Lunak veteran. But yeah,
maybe you could put it on the table after you tap out your creatures for a Battle Screech or something.
Yeah, which is obviously it's not nothing, but obviously it just means it's coming down later, as opposed to turn 2. Where it obviously would shine. But I really do like the Martyr increase. Like, a lot of the decks are now running Martyrs, both the red one and the white one, right? Which has been an interesting inclusion and development. I like the Martyr Sands in particular, for obviously the red matchups, especially with Madness being able to gain a bazillion life.
Yeah, them getting out of range with life while still having a clock to hit you makes it very difficult to win with the mono red Madness deck.
Yeah, for sure.
Also, the next.
On to the next one.
Sorry. So the Sunday challenge was 48 players. There was a RCQ happening at the same time that had 278 players. So this one was a little low. First place, Mono Blue Terror. Second place, Spy Walls. Third place, fourth place, fifth place, Mono Blue Terror. Sixth place, Wildfire. Seventh, High Tide. And eighth, Grixis Affinity, with the near misses of Mono Red Madness and a Jund Wildfire. I wonder if the Terror decks look different. So the second place Spy is kind of stock, I guess. Beast Rider Vanguard is a cool inclusion because they don't go off with infinite mana, but they have a lot often. And that's pretty sweet. The Discover End ended up in third place this time, so really just slacking, I guess. Couldn't get it done. The first place player has 3 Dispels and 1 Spell Pierce, and Discover End has the same. So it's the same deck. Looks to be the same.
Yeah, it's Hamuda, right? And they've only got small changes looking like in the sideboard, it seems.
Maybe.
They've got a Murmuring... Hamuda's got a Murmuring Mystic. And yeah, that's it, I think.
And then Illuminati, one of the premier Mono Blue Terror players, like, since it was a good deck, they're playing 2 Murmuring Mystics and no Delvers with 4/4 spike in the main deck. This is a clean looking main deck with a lot of 4-ofs. I think that I wonder what the Mystic is really doing for them. I think it might just give them more options to tap out and then be good. I don't know. It can maybe be good against something like Elves, where if you can, you're just stopping like a go wide plan maybe.
Yeah,
I'm not entirely sure.
It's just a good stabilizing tool, right? Obviously, they often have answers for an amount of threats, so like having an answer for 1 or 2 terrors is fine, and then you can drop a Murmuring Mystic and it just stabilizes the whole board. You can play like more of a longer game as opposed to more of a tempo-y sort of aggro game. It doesn't seem the worst, right? To me.
And then on Sunday, Blaze 66 with the John Wildfire, another top 8 for them, 2 in a row. Pretty crazy. Same deck. We had Baki Flocky with High Tide. I think they played Mono Red Madness some previously too, but it looks like maybe the list that I played most recently with a different sideboard, where they're playing 3 Breach, 3 Hidden Strings, and they're playing 1 Snap. So Breach was really good in that deck. Boo. In that it was pretty good post board. Then the affinity is the Luffy affinity, but not Luffy. And so Ivern OP was 9th place with Mono Red Menace, choosing to play a version with what? Okay, interesting. This is crazy. So they have 4 Gutter Snipe, 4 Flame Breather, 4 Snacker, and they're playing a way to not flood out using a Singleton Whiteout with snow-covered lands. Did you see this previously?
I haven't seen this previously. I've just seen this now.
That's wild. It makes sense. You do flood out. It makes you allowed. I guess it allows you to keep making your land drops instead of having to hold them in your hand. That's cool.
But it also
I've never seen that before.
It helps obviously, like when you're top decking, right? Just you can turn a land obviously into a whiteout and then Faithless Luton if you top deck a Faithless Luton or if it's in the bin or whatever. It seems really interesting. And so say if you have 0 cards in your hand and a Faithless Luton in the bin, you can sack a land, bring it back, Faithless Luton, then you've got card advantage because your whiteout's in the bin. Then you can sack it again if you draw a grab the prize in the Faithless Luton, so you've now got to grab the prize to go off. That's that's pretty insane. I know it sounds really strange to one of. That's a really cool tech. I am all for
Maybe
that.
It should be more than one of.
Yeah.
So they have the same number of card draw spells, which is a little sketchy. They have 4 looting, 4 grab the prize, 4 highway robbery, but they're not playing any amount of Boulder and Epicures. So they're really relying on drawing one of those early, which makes it much more mulligan dependent. But they have a little bit more power output with 2 Chain Lightnings and obviously the whiteout that we talked about, which is kind of wild.
This is interesting.
Never seen that before in that deck. But Ivern OP is a Polish player, I believe, and they're clearly very strong.
Yeah. That's pretty cool.
Spike U not actually playing Burn. They were playing John Wildfire in 10th.
Yeah, basically the same deck, of course. Yeah, there was nothing too overly... As I said, the big difference is there's a lot of Terror, which is obviously quite funny.
A lot of times I think the double queuers will play Terror or, people just looking to play an so-called easy deck going into, the potential double queue here. Yeah,
you've just got obviously easy decisions and you have this window of, okay, now I can get aggressive and I can easily kill this player or at least attempt to kill this player so I can carry on with my other game. Definitely. Yep.
In the RCQ, I played against Terror round 1 and my opponent took many minutes playing their other games. Ended up winning with 10 seconds on clock, so that was cool. They actually, I gave them an opportunity to win, passed it back, and they had like 2 minutes on clock and didn't realize that I didn't win, but they came back in just enough time to press attack. It was brutal. I was standing there like, please don't come back.
But yeah, there's nothing really other than that to sort of dive in that we haven't talked about before. Obviously, we've talked about Bocky Flocky's sideboard previously, like a deck with Falashi in the board. We've spoke about the major furry Grixis Affinity is close to Luffy's list, right? Just not running the one of Cryogen Relic in the main. I think that's probably for either a Kenku or another Black Mage's Rod looking at this. But yeah, there's nothing too out the ordinary for the Sunday. With the low play count, obviously, is the only thing that's standing out. But that's obviously... Happy to move on to the Sunday RCQ if you want.
Alrighty. So the RCQ, we have first place Elves, second place Spy Walls, third place High Tide, fourth Rally Red, fifth Mono Red Madness, sixth Grixis Affinity, seventh was Altertron out of nowhere, and eighth was Mono Blue Terror. Near misses of White Weenie and Boros Moxite. I didn't see that. There was also a really spicy list in the top 32, which I'll have to pull up. So Kineo Cosmico, first place. Mono Green Elves.
Woo!
Pretty stock with the Avenging Hunters, Nyxborns, Queering Rangers, Timberwatch Elf. Didn't see anything crazy.
There's a Web Weaver Changeling in the sideboard.
ETB, if there are 3 or more creature cards in your graveyard, you gain 5 life, and it's a 5 mana 3/5
with reach.
With reach and a changeling. So it's also an elf. Sick. Love that.
Pretty cool.
The second place Spy Walls is playing 4 lands and 2 Lotus Petals. Tinderwall in the deck.
Not 2 Elven Farsight.
And then Edo 01 in third place. Really a very, very stock main deck where they have 8 cantrips, a single Giga Drowse, a single Muddle, 4 Hidden Strings, and 1 Snap. They were able to beat multiple Bono Blue Terrors. They also have 3 pieces of the puzzle and 1 Deep Analysis. Their sideboard is where it gets interesting with Disrupt, which is a single blue for counter instant or sorcery unless its controller pays 1 and you draw a card. It's a really good way to like tap down your opponent and then stop them from being able to manage with their single last open mana. But I didn't find it that great, but I think other people are much better at piloting it with that.
I think
the person that came...
Oh, sorry, go on. I was just going to say, I think the good thing about it, obviously, is the worst case scenario is it draws a card. So if you are having abundance of mana, you can technically, worst case scenario, cycle it on your own spell. Not advised, but it is literally just a 1 mana draw card.
That's true, but I think that top decking a random card is not worth it, personally. So spending 2 mana to top deck a card is quite poor, unfortunately. But it can be okay.
Yeah, it's not, obviously it's not in there.
It's not as bad as an island on your combo turn. So it's better than nothing.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, it doesn't matter anymore. So
no,
it's all
it doesn't
good.
matter. Does not matter.
You can play High Tide again with Petal Festival instead. I'll shout out that after and explain how it works. So 4th place, MJ23. I guess they are like a pro player from Europe. They played Mono Red Rally. And they're choosing to play 4 mana Morphos in the main, which is a way of turning the Burning Tree Emissary mana into a Bushwhacker. Kind of sick.
And it's also just free.
Like, being a free draw. Only 2 Reckless Impulses.
It's like Disrupt, basically, right? Just a free draw.
But it costs you mana. It's a free draw, but it doesn't cost you mana, luckily. The Boom Bust in 5th place was literally the stock mono red. They went really hard into trying to defeat Terror with 4 relics in the sideboard. Yeah,
but they cut a red elemental blast, so kind of.
I think that's fine though, because previously I was okay, I think, with 4 and 4, and 7 and 4 seems like I really don't want to lose to Terror. That was a good choice, I think, because Terror is always overrepresented in these kinds of things where legacy players and other format grinders say, I want to make meaningful decisions and play 1 mana unkillable creatures.
Yeah.
In 6th place was Teamer for Life. I forget what they're...
Not playing Teamer.
I forget what their name is, but they're in the Familiars Discord. They've played on the Pro Tour a couple, or at least once, I believe. Heath, I think. Could be wrong, sorry. They played Grixis Affinity. And they made a couple minor changes, they said, to the Luffy list, where they added a prophetic prism, and a land. Because they felt like the mana was where they always died.
That's totally fair.
The 7th place Altertron deck is very similar to the... Let's see. Are they playing Malevolent Rumble? Okay, so they have Malevolent Rumble and 4 Viscer's Insight. So it's kind of the stockish Rumble version, but they ended up cutting a Caney Trail and a Chromatic Star, which allows them to play a couple more Weather the Storms in the main deck. So their main win condition is 4 Pactol Terrors with the side win condition of going for Infinite Golems with the Golem Foundry. If your opponent has a bunch of life gainer, like a Finger Marauder on the table. But they do they have now Spellbomb? I don't see that in the main deck.
No, there isn't.
Sideboard has Red Blast for the High Tide, 4 Red Blast, 4 Duress. Okay, so they were prepared as well. That makes a lot of sense. Duress is interesting in the deck because it doesn't hit things like Fairy Macabre or like Spellstutter, but it's obviously 4 Duress, 4 Red Blast does pick apart a High Tide player. Then in 8th place, very stock Mono Blue Terror. I think this is the Discover End list. Then 9th place was the same white weenie that we talked about previously with 2 and 2 on Chocomo Guardian's Pledge.
Yep.
And 10th place was Viashino Peruar. Okay, I can do this.
Try again.
Viashino Peruano. They are basically Boros for life, this guy. They always play Borosynth, no matter what. They have a singleton Goliath Paladin in the main deck, and they're playing the version with Sneaky Snacker and Melvin Moxite with 3 relics in the main deck.
I love this deck.
Only 3 Galvanic Blasts, 3 Journey to Nowheres, 3 Lightning Bolts. It feels like they worked really hard on the specifics on what they wanted to have 3 of, or they just threw stuff at the wall and saw what stuck. I don't really know.
Yeah, I really like the idea of the Meldon Moxite, Sneaky Snacker, Core Skyfisher, Glinthawk stuff. I don't know about the noise in the other stuff with the one-off Bitted Reunion and the one-off Goliath Paladin and stuff like that, but
I feel like this deck should be playing Stormshriek Feral because you're just kind of like churning a lot. So why not just play a dragon that you can cast at some point?
Yeah.
I don't know that Bitter Reunion is getting you anything.
No, it seems odd, right? It's like half of your bounce.
But you can pick up the Bitter Reunion.
Yeah. It's like
so maybe they wanted to have 5 Moxites.
I just probably I wouldn't have played the Goliath Paladin, then just played a one-off synth, right? At least then both draw like bounce things here. I think it's more important to be an artifact than discard draw, do you know what I mean? I don't know.
Yeah. So I'm going to scroll down to this spicy list. It is the 27th place. Did you see this yet?
No. I'm scrolling down.
Scroll down.
I'm scrolling. All right, okay.
This is Dimir Ninja Refurb.
All right, okay. Yeah.
They're playing 4 Refurbished Familiar paired up with Spellstutter Sprite and Shambling Ghast, and they have 4 Moon Circuit Hacker, 1 Ninja the Deep Hours with 2 Fairy Macabres in the main deck, 3 Accursed Marauders. This deck does not look like it would work. It looks like a pile. But if you can Ninja Refurbished Familiar, you win the game. So this deck is called I'm going to Ninja Refurbished Familiar and you are going to lose. Because they can clear the ground with things like the Accursed Marauder, maybe combined with maybe the Shambling Ghast. Like, what if you have a Shambling Ghast in play? You play the Accursed Marauder, then you sacrifice your Shambling Ghast, nag the other creature. You're going to get through and keep ninjing. This is a deck that very similar to a deck that I played, which was the Esper or the blue-white version with ninjas trying to like be blue-white affinity that sucked. And then I played an Esper version where I played 8 ninjas, 4 refurbs, and I was just ninjing people like crazy. And that was sweet, but the mana was weird. So they took that as their like base idea, and then they went with this, and they put it into the Familiars Discord as what I thought was just like a meme deck that they were going to play in their LGS, and they made 27th place here in the Pauper RC Super Qualifier, losing top 8 on Breakers at 7-2.
Wow.
Crazy.
That's pretty impressive.
Yeah.
I did versus similar list at Pop again. Was like a blue-black affinity ninjas, which obviously uses refurb ninjas and thoughtcasts and spellstutters and stuff. It seemed pretty cool, but it definitely has like this really competing factor. The list that I played against ran Ornithopter. It was like sort of to get through and early ninjas and stuff. I do think the Accursed Marauder Shambling Ghast sort of fixes a lot of the problems where it's not running a lot of bad cards. Like Shambling Ghast and Accursed Marauder are sort of okay. So
he said that it was very good against Rally Red, which we knew.
Yeah,
Shambling Ghast good versus the Go Wide Burn deck for sure.
But
ninjing the Refurbished Familiar is one of the most brutal things you can do. And in my video that I released on Sunday, I played Refurbished Familiar 6 times in one game. It was pretty bad with only 2 refurbs available. I can imagine they would wreck. They have very strange choices with 3 islands, 1 aquifer, 3 Lorien Revealed. And no other islands than that. They have a singleton snuff out with 3 cast downs, thought cast. I mean, it's just strong. They have when you have spell stutter ninja and refurbished familiar ninja, you can't lose.
The only downside I have here is that they've not run many fairies, right? They've literally got 4 spell stutters and then 2 fairy macabres in the main as a sort of...
Yeah, but it's sort of similar to the Demir snacker deck where you just try to counter 1 drops, I think.
Yeah, exactly. Which is sort of fine, right? But it doesn't really get much better than that.
Yeah.
I like the idea of Fairy Macabre to an extent. I don't know if I would main deck it with Blood Fountain. Like it's sort of okay, but I guess you can pay 3 mana for a Winged Drake if you really wanted to.
Well, they can Blood Fountain. Very cool. You can Fairy Macabre, then Fountain the Macabre, and Fairy Macabre again.
Yeah. Which is definitely a cool
all at instant speed, which is wild.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. I probably would try and squeeze another ninja in it or 2, but 5 ninjas.
I would go 8 ninjas for sure.
Yeah. I think 8 ninjas is definitely the content way to do it, right? For sure, because that's what you want to do. The correct way to do it is, I'd probably say at least 1. 6 ninjas seems like reasonable. I'd probably be on 7, because you don't have that many 1 drops that you're playing on 1 to the ninja on 2. If you know what I mean, you're only playing Shamlingast, right?
Mm-hmm.
But
and as I scroll through, I'm just seeing lots and lots of Terror and Mono Red Madness.
Yeah,
I think Curb Lacy posted the recap of it, so I'm going to go try to find that. Said that there were 7 Mono Blue Terror and 6 Mono Red Madness in the top 32. No Jund. People were on Affinity instead. It's really funny.
Not so
in the big, intense events, there's always Affinity doing well, but people don't pick it otherwise. I think maybe people that are outside of the format are just like, oh, this is still a good deck. I'm going to play it.
I think, though, also if you're in the format, though, the deck is still good. It's just people... Yeah, it's the same deck it was basically, 5 years ago. The only difference is it's got Refurb Familiar now, basically. You know what I mean? It's like, it doesn't play any differently, I don't think. So people tend to not really pick it up. Like, I think Luff is like the only person with the mantle. He's like, get the torch. He's like, let's go! So, but yeah. Pretty cool, super qualified to be fair. Especially cool to see that it's been won by elves for me. Happy to see Ultratron Maker come back as well. Pretty sweet.
Yeah, that's pretty sweet. For sure.
But yeah, again, pretty cool stuff. As you say, missing out on breakers with the blue-black deck. You've got Boros Moxite missing out as well. White Weenie missing out. So there's definitely still a lot of cool decks. Be interesting to see if anything changes with the ban list. Probably not. But pretty interesting all around that these decks are sort of just floating around, just missing out on the top 10, on the top 8.
Yep, for sure.
Anything else to add?
Not about the challenge, I don't think, or the events.
So we're going to cover the hot takes from last week. I am personally very happy to cover this because, oh my god, we have had so many to track over the past few weeks.
People just want to talk about bans.
Tell me about it. So I'm going to just quickly touch on the ones that we've tracking, and then we'll sort of alternate between each other and go through the last week ones. So first one is that Reese has said that High Tide will not be banned and will be taken off trial in the next month. Well, that didn't happen. High Tide's gone out. The next one was Reese said that a card from Terra will be considered for banning in the September-October, i.e. when it got banned, and that did happen. They did say that they are going to basically watch or consider some card out of Terra. I said that they'll ban Terra. That did not happen. Trainer Lucas said that they'll ban Chrysalis. Again, that didn't happen. That didn't even get mentioned, but even though we've seen in the past that they've been very high on Terra Chrysalis being in the format. So that is all good. And then we have a very cold take from this guy called Kalikaiz. I don't know who that is. They said no changes. Again, these people this person must not know what they're talking about, because that was not the case. They banned it. It's gone.
It's basically no changes.
True, but still. It still doesn't count. Stop trying to defend them. Stop making out pretend that they know what they're talking about. And then now we're on to the ones from last week, which I guess is good for you to go over to start with.
First one is that we will see new test unbans. No, that is not the case. They did say they would consider potentially doing that in the future, but nothing at this time. Next is PG Brewing is saying that the Avatar lessons will see play in Mogwarts. I could see that being the case, but I don't think Mogwarts is going to come back. I'm sorry. I don't know what it is. I think it's probably that everyone is trying to beat Terror and Spy, and Mogwarts is less resilient than those are, unfortunately.
One day.
What if you put had a black-green Mogwarts somehow, where you just splash the red so that you could play Mass Vandal easier? You need a green base so you can play Mass Vandal.
Also, there's a green lesson, right? Which is actually pretty good. Gives indestructible and a counter, and then also destroys an artifact enchantment.
I'm interested in playing first day of class in Ruby Storm and fetching out the Rummage spell so that I can just make my cost reducers my win condition.
You could also, though, just play the spell in the main as well, and then have some lesson payoff, hopefully. Hopefully, there's a good one.
Yeah. The next one was from Reese, right? It said there will be a different co-host next week. This one came true.
Did it?
Happy to be here. And then was this you?
No, this was me.
You said Terror will be banned next week. Unfortunately not. We're still here.
No! Oh, well.
Pack your Murmuring Mystics. Time to block.
Yep. So then we're going to cover the hot takes from this week. We'll alternate these, so if you want to go with this one first.
Okay. Mitch said, regardless of whether or not anything gets banned, the format's makeup will remain unchanged, and that tide is not affecting what's being played. Probably true.
Yeah.
We'll see. As they said, we will be watching and waiting and seeing.
The next hot take is to do with the red slide deck, and this comes from Hard Master Dave, saying that the red slide deck is the truth, and they think it'll see a top 8 next week as well. Pretty likely. Deck seems pretty good.
It's a cool deck. It feels like it's lacking oomph and more reliant on good mulligan skills, so we'll see. The next one is Terror will make top 4 in every challenge next week. That's from me. I said, I think Terror will make top 4 in every challenge. I think that's easy. Yeah. 100%.
You reckon? Well, we'll find out next week. My last one for this week is that the Mycocid Spore Tender will become a mainstay in Spy Walls, pretty much.
I think that if people switch to this list that's more combo-centric, then that will be the case for sure. If you're playing the package, why not?
Yeah, definitely. I've always really liked that card as well. Yeah, I've always really liked that card and like the fact you can transmute for it. Just need to find a good home.
My next one is mean and pointed, but I don't think that Jun Wildfire is going to be the next top deck. We'll see. I'm saying that is not going to make the top 8 of Paupergeddon.
You reckon?
People are going to have to come at each other.
Well, only time will tell. Anything else to add?
No, I do not have anything else.
So, how has it been? How was your first podcast as a host?
I had a good time. I feel like we ran a little long, but we had a lot of fun stuff to say.
Yeah, we definitely, to be fair, if you've been here before, everyone's used to me rambling at this point, so, it's all good. It always definitely overruns nowadays, because I don't shut up. Anyways, thank you all for the continued support, and thank you, Kalikaiz, for joining us. I'm assuming you'll still come back next week?
For sure.
Let's go. If you've enjoyed this podcast, please do not forget to share it with your friends, your family, your local Pauper community, and even your PFP member. That is all from us at Casting Commons. Until next time, and don't forget to stay hydrated. Peace.
Bye.